Aloha, Angela Coloredi-McGough here. We've had a lot of conversations in recent days about artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT. So I want to spend a couple minutes showing you what ChatGPT is and also share a tool that you might use in order to help you determine whether or not a student has used ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence model that is used in order to develop answers based on a prompt that you submit, and it will cultivate and curate information based on sources and training, and it's pretty fascinating. So let's try asking ChatGPT about itself. So the question I'm going to ask is, how can you determine if a student used artificial intelligence to write an essay? Okay, let's see what they say. All right, so we can see here that unusual vocabulary choices, sudden shift in tone, advanced knowledge that wasn't covered in your class, rapid completion, right? So obviously you saw how fast that this was. No mistakes, no inconsistencies, no grammar errors. You can also use plagiarism detection tools, and you can see that if there's familiarity with AI-related concepts without any, okay, interesting. So it's important to approach with fairness and caution. All right. Consult with your academic integrity officer. So that would be me. And you can definitely, submit an incident report and we can have a discussion. Now, what's interesting about ChatGPT is you can ask it to try again. So we're going to regenerate a response. So if a student edits what the AI language model put out, it is difficult to see whether or not the student has used ChatGPT to develop their written assignment. And so this is pretty much very similar to the previous answer, except the previous answer was much longer and also, kind of had an opening and then a conclusion that was more, meaty. So this actually I agree with. So ultimately, the best way to determine if a student used AI is to ask the student directly. In this past semester, there have been a couple of cases and students did admit that they used ChatGPT to produce their work. And so this is something I think as a campus we can work on together. But yes, this is definitely the best way is to ask them directly. So I'm going to say same. And so now what I'm going to do is use a plagiarism tool to see if this was used, if ChatGPT was used to create this answer. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to copy this whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is go to OpenAI. So OpenAI is the name of the company that developed ChatGPT. And they have an AI text classifier which predicts whether or not text was generated by AI. So there may be human written, AI generated, or misclassified human written. So the classifier is likely to get things wrong on younger children and perhaps even text written by those who are not very familiar with the language, because it was primarily trained on English content written by adults. So let me first show you what is AI generated. So you can see here, right, in conclusion. So it's very much a basic. Human written. So that's very interesting. And then misclassified. So this is from Don Quixote, and it says it was AI generated, but of course it was actually written by Miguel de Cervantes. Okay, so now I'm going to enter the document text here, and it took out all of the numerical signs, and let's see, let's just press submit and see what happens. It's unclear. It's unclear. So let me tell you what that means. That means that the document is labeled either very unlikely, unlikely, unclear, so that's they're not sure, possibly, or likely that it was AI generated. So if it's unclear, then that's more than unlikely. It's probable, but not possible. So here's what they say as far as whether or not there are limitations, definitely, but in terms of accuracy, they really looked at, they wanted to categorize the results so that it's biased to reduce false positives at the expense of more false negatives, because we believe false positives to be more costly than false negatives. So they would rather say that something is not AI generated, so it would be, here in this realm here, than to say that it is AI generated and it would be false. So as you can see, there's a threshold here. It has to be pretty high, and about 9% of human written text, so that's still almost 9%, but 26% of AI generated text has this label. So the majority of AI generated text falls into unclear, possibly, and likely. So those are your three. If it's unlikely, that's only 10%. And if it's very unlikely, that's only 2% of all the text that they have generated. So hopefully this helps you. Again, this is platform.openai.com, AI/AI-text classifier is the resource, and you can test it for yourself. And then ChatGPT, you can just search it. ChatGPT, you can get a free account, and it's fairly easy to use. If you have any questions, I'm definitely not the expert, but I'm happy to consult with you regarding the use of artificial intelligence and whether or not you would like to submit a report through our Report a Concern button at the bottom of our website. So just to show you where that is, if you're interested in sharing a concern that you have regarding a student that might be that you might want to report regarding academic dishonesty, that would go here, and then you could submit a student of concern, complaint of misconduct, and here the topic would be student conduct. Okay? So student conduct, and then normal or FYI would be typical. And once you submit this, I will receive it, and I can go ahead and follow up with you. What's helpful, of course, is if you have screenshots. That would be acts of dishonesty. If you have screenshots or if you have a link to a Google Drive or what have you, if you can include that here as a file, that would be helpful, and you can get your own copy of the report. So again, that we got to this form by going to the home page, clicking on the footer, which is Report a Concern right here. I almost pointed to it. And then it's a Student of Concern report. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great summer.